Welcome to the Events Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Taylor, and each week I talk with event entrepreneurs about how they plan, promote, and run their events. We help you build your events empire by growing your business using live events. Whether you're running community meetups, conferences, trade shows, IT training, music events, or literally any type of event, we focus on finding actionable tips that you can use straight away. The podcast is sponsored by Apps Events. We produce over 300 of our own events across the globe every year, from training to conferences, and we're now sharing our expertise to a small group of event professionals. There's a couple of ways we can help you. Firstly, we can run the logistics for your event. We have a whole support team who can handle all the heavy lifting for you. We can help set up your website and agenda, liaise with your speakers, deal with the huge volume of questions you'll get from attendees. We can liaise with venues, and we can come to the event to actually run it for you on the ground. Get in touch with James at appsevents.com and we'll jump on a call to see if we can help. Secondly, I offer one-on-one coaching to help event entrepreneurs grow their events. I want you to get more attendees, produce epic events, make more money, and most importantly, to do it all with no stress. So just email me at dan@appsevents.com and we'll jump on a call. And now, onto the interview. Hello, welcome to the Events Podcast. It's been a while. I'm here with my co-host, James, and we're going to chat about what we've been up to and how we see the future of the event space. So how's it going, James?
Hey, Dan. Yeah, good to catch up. It's been just over a year since this all began. It's got a few things we can talk about. It's been a crazy year.
It's been unbelievable. I mean, so just to let you know where we are, I'm in Prague at the moment. We've had really bad COVID here, but it's got a lot better. They've just opened up bars and restaurants for outside seating and shops are open. So hopefully we're getting through. James, where are you? You're in quite a cool place right now.
Yeah, I'm in Bangkok. Well, actually not in Bangkok currently, but I'm usually based in Bangkok. I'm just 2 hours south right now. We're here and it's on the beach. It's currently about 38 degrees Celsius. Beautiful place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, not in Bangkok. And I was in Bangkok when this all began. So I remember back in January of 2020, I remember there was talk of COVID and things were closing up in China where it began, obviously. I remember talking to you, Dan, and saying, hey, Dan, I think this is going to affect our events. I remember us talking about this and we think, no, it's not going to spread. It's not going to spread. Yeah. And gradually over those first 2 months, it just began, the spread just increased. Remember that?
I know. And then you and me met up in London. So we became an ISTE partner, which is a US certification for teachers, basically, and all to do with technology and education. And we had a big thing to get all our trainers certified. So James came across to London. We were there, and literally that was beginning of March, I think. And if we'd have been a day later, it was just starting to shut down. Then literally that was it. That's the last time I traveled anywhere, March last year.
Well, I remember leaving Bangkok, and the airport was actually getting quite strict about testing for COVID. So they had all of the temperature measurements being taken at the airport. As I was leaving, and I was beginning to think, well, I'm flying back in 5 days. Am I going to be able to get back in? But then, of course, London, I remember arriving in London, everybody in Bangkok was wearing masks already back in March. But arriving in London, nothing. Like nobody had even heard of it.
I know. It was nuts. So in terms of where we are when we last spoke, you probably heard us a lot talk about Course Director. I think I might have mentioned on the last podcast, we sold Course Director to a friend of ours, Martin. Not Course Director, Events Frame. That was my other not so successful software project. So Events Frame, we sold to Martin, I actually met Martin yesterday, funnily enough, James. He's done quite a lot with the product. So we're going to try it out again, actually, but just small plug. We've got nothing to do with it anymore, but check out Events Frame for events. We're going to check it out, probably use it again. They've introduced ticket fees, which is cool. But we were, we kind of got out of that and we were just back to our full-time business of Apps Events, working with schools across the world on Google, doing boot camps, doing summits, stuff. So basically, let's get back to where we were. So basically, COVID hit. We came back from London. You'd already sounded the alarm bells. And pretty much all our events stopped dead pretty much immediately, I would say.
Well, yeah, and I noticed it before in Asia first. Yeah, things were gradually getting cancelled and then postponed. But then, obviously as March, April, May drew on, they were just being cancelled. And there was no talk of rebooking.
No, and obviously we were pretty worried. I was personally a bit stressed about it at the time. I'll talk a bit about what we did, because Obviously, people have had a lot of different experiences. Some people have done well, and we're very respectful. Obviously, some people had a tough time, and hopefully it's going to get better. I'm sure it is. We did a few things. Like, first of all, we work with Google, obviously, and we're very, very lucky that we've built up a relationship with Google over the 10 years we've been running this company. And obviously for James and colleague Ben and Lisa and other people who work in the team. So Google needed a lot of help. Google have tons more schools using Education Plus. So we got a lot of work for Google, working with Google, which kind of really, was the main thing that helped us get through this period, I would say.
Yes, definitely, because we were able to pivot on expertise and provide resources that Google needed. So they suddenly had a huge demand for educators to learn about teaching online. Yeah. And we were able to pivot with our trainers who've got amazing expertise in delivering that content and in building that out for Google.
Yeah. And then in terms of our events, I mean, obviously we were running monthly, pretty much every month, a summit, which is kind of a small conference, certification courses, in-person 2-day events. And that just died. I mean, so what we made a decision, I think it was actually your idea, James, that we just start running our summits online for free every month, completely free content, and put some effort into growing our YouTube channel, which I think has been a success. We've got over 6,000 subscribers now. We've got, but it's a tough one. Obviously, it's only because we have this other kind of consulting type work, we were able to do this for free. I know not everyone is in this position, and obviously people should try to charge for their events online if they can, but we've just done everything. And we've been doing that since March. Everything's been online. Check out Apps Events YouTube channel. We've put tons of content out. And obviously, it's great. We've built up goodwill, but hopefully it's going to lead to, when things open up, which we'll talk about later, we've got goodwill and people know about us and we can run in-person events. That's kind of what we're hoping from it.
Yeah, I mean, by putting our bigger events online for free, we were able to connect with more people, obviously. But also because we were, at the same time, we were doing custom training, we were doing personalized training for schools, Google Educator training, for example. And marketing that, traditionally we're marketing to schools face-to-face events. Now suddenly we're marketing online events, which is completely different. The way you market that, you're looking at advertising online, or you're reaching out to your network. However you're going to do that, it is much harder to reach out to those people. But the online free events gave us a big window into what we can actually deliver, which I think was really beneficial.
Yeah, definitely. And we started looking at some platforms to deliver online events. There's a lot there. We thought about charging, and probably a good time to transition. I mean, what do you think, James, other people have been doing? Oh, I mean, we need to say up front, we know it's been tough for some people. A lot of people working, especially in things like trade shows, conferences, everything from AV people to people designing, exhibition platforms to people, everyone employed or working as an entrepreneur in the event. It's been tough. So we know that. And we know a lot of you have had to get jobs, you may be Uber driving or doing something casual and just whatever you need to do to get through. So it's that. But I mean, James, what do you think people have been doing? I mean, it seems to me a lot of people have been trying the online events. I spoke to Chris Ducker, who runs the Upreneur Summit, and he said he tried it and he was quite upfront. He said, look, it just didn't work. They couldn't justify it with the ticket sales. But I think some people have had some success. I mean, what's your opinion? Like, if you're going to guess, and I hope people reply, by the way, and tell us what they've been doing. But what do you think people have been doing, and how successful do you think it's been?
Yeah, just to add on to that, I mean, obviously the MICE industry, we see it here a lot in Bangkok, in Thailand. There's a lot of conferences are hosted in Thailand. And I mean, it's not just the conference venues, the AV people, it's the hotels, it's everybody in that chain, in that industry, which has been affected. And we saw it as well in the first 3 to 6 months. We just lost every single event. All income was gone. So certainly can empathize with that. Been a lot of big losers. But on the other side of it, you look at a company like, for example, we use StreamYard for broadcasting our live events. StreamYard has just grown. And I think, they got sold out earlier this year. They were bought by another company. There are other companies which are doing incredibly well from this, obviously. So there are two sides to that equation. Yeah, I was going to say, what are other people doing? Well, I've seen a lot of conferences obviously pivot to the online. And they're working with different payment models. They've gone for, obviously, a payment for the conference. They've gone for a subscription model where you get access to all of the resources, all of the streams for up to a year. There's a few different models out there. And I think honestly, people are still trying to figure out what's going to work best. But in every case, from what I've seen so far, the big piece missing is a networking piece. So if you look at a traditional trade conference, is purely about networking. It really is.
It's networking, and it's also like, you know what it's like. Part of going to a conference is you go to a new city, you're relaxed because you're away from work. You get to, maybe you'll get to do a bit of sightseeing or go out in an evening with some people, meet some new people, meet some friends. It's the networking and very much the social side of it. The learning is usually what people use to justify it to their companies or to their schools or whatever, so they can go. But the reason they really want to go is to hang out in a new city, meet people, and they want to learn as well. Of course they do. But I think that's half of it.
Yeah. So how is that going to be replicated online? I just can't see that being replicated.
I don't. I mean, this brings us on to, like, what do we see the future as? I mean, there's people have different opinions. On the one hand, some people are saying it's the end of in person, where everything's going to be online because it's been a proven model that you can do this. On the other hand, my opinion probably more is people are going to be crazy for meeting, and they're going to be so keen. There's going to be a boom in the events industry. And then I think there's a third camp that says there'll be some kind of hybrid approach. Maybe part of it'll be online, maybe it'll be selling online tickets as well as in-person tickets. Maybe less in person, but some online. I don't know. Where do you stand? What would your opinion break down on the future of kind of live events?
Yeah, I mean, really, just to add another question to that, I wonder if it's going to affect the big trade conferences on one side, but create a lot more opportunity for smaller events on the other. So, for example, there's BET, the big educational show in London. There's EduTech Singapore is a big educational show in Asia. Yeah. Well, ISTE is a big one in America as well. I wonder if in place of those big international events, if you'll get more country-specific events for which people don't need to travel. So instead of having EduTech Singapore, maybe there'll be competing events in every country, attracting people.
Yeah, I mean, are you saying you think people are not going to want to hang out in such huge groups? They're not going to feel comfortable in an event with 5,000 people?
I think people will want to. I just wonder if it will not be a possibility. It can, take into account
people are going to travel less, you think? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's the quarantine times, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's another thing. I mean, I guess it all breaks down to what happens with COVID, how quickly the quarantine's going away. I think it's going to be much quicker than people think. I mean, we were in lockdown in Czech. I mean, we were the worst country in the world for quite a while in terms of infections per capita and deaths per capita. And even 2 weeks ago, do you remember? I was locked down. I was complaining about it. Now, I've almost forgotten about it. Everything's open. I've been out, been out today walking around the street without a mask. You still wear the mask inside, but I've almost forgotten what it was like. And I think as long as people get vaccinated and as long as these new strains of COVID are not resistant to the vaccine, I think it's going to be way quicker than people think. I think 2 months, life's going to be normal. But a lot of people disagree with me on that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I have an opinion on that, because I think in Europe people have a lot better control on it. But if you look at Asia, for example, there's such a range of economies and scales of COVID infections in Asia. I think it's going to take a little bit longer than that.
Yeah, well, also it's hit you worse later. I mean, here it was bad early, and everything in Asia was fine, and then it seemed to come back to Asia, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really difficult one to predict. I mean, even looking 6 months from now, if you just look at the availability of vaccines, Asia is still going to be way behind. So, I mean, 6 months from now, big events are still not going to happen in Asia.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think when I say life's going to be back to normal in 2 months, that doesn't mean that people are going to be running big events in 2 months, because there's a lead time. It takes you, a year of preparation to run a big trade show or a conference. So, I mean, in terms of what we're planning, so we were planning a big conference in Bangkok called the Connected School in October. Really looking forward to it. We had a hotel booked, everything. And we've made a decision just to move that online, completely free, same dates. But so then we can say it's been run for a year, and next year it's the second year, we'll do it in person, and then we focus towards October. And I think we don't even try and run it earlier in spring. We just keep it as October. We've got a whole year, and we make it a big conference. We get 500 plus people to it. Big for us. I mean, I know that's not big for some of you out there. And do that. I don't know what you think, James.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I mean, it's a learning conference. It's really a lot of content. It's different to a trade show where you get these massive trade show booths and so on. Yes, it's certainly a different style event. Yeah, again, I think it's that smaller style event, which I think will be easier to plan. It's going to be more agile. You could move it a little bit more easily, but also you don't need to rely upon 2,000 to 5,000 people attending or more than that. You don't need those massive numbers. So yeah, I think it's going to be a greater opportunity to run that size of the event.
Definitely. So again, sorry we've been a while with the podcast. We're going to start doing more of it again. I've actually, it's quite nice. I've had a few people actually email me and say, what's happening with the podcast? Is it coming? So we really do appreciate it. It's funny, just to give you a bit of background. We started this podcast when we started EventsFrame, the software, and we've now got rid of that. And I still want to keep it going because I love, even though our business is education, we're educators, we focus on teachers, on schools. The other part of our business is live events. And through this podcast and through starting EventsFrame, I've met so many people running different events, but I'm kind of, I was very much an amateur when I started this podcast, but now I've learned a huge amount about running events. So I think I'd like to keep this podcast going, have some chats with people, maybe not every month. I want to keep it pretty frequent or people aren't going to subscribe to it, but let me know what you think. Do you like the podcast? Do you want more? If we get some more replies, it really motivates us to do more episodes.
Yeah, just add on to that. And again, like you said, we're not involved with EventsFrame anymore. However, I do miss using EventsFrame as a platform. So
yeah.
If you're looking for a platform, check it out. It's absolutely fantastic.
Check it out.
Those things that other platforms don't do. Yeah, chat to Martin. He'll take care of you.
Yeah, definitely. James, cool. It was good to chat up. Obviously, you and me talk all the time, but we haven't talked about events for a while. So good to catch up. And let's see what people say. Again, very much we're going to depend on what people say to us, how many more events we do, but we'd love to hear from you. And hopefully we'll do more events, through the year. Cool. Cheers,
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, everyone.